When keeping it real goes wrong or absolutely right. Hey guys, it's Andy with Mindset Matters More. And today we have an amazing guest for you. She is someone who will have you feeling seen and maybe a little called out in the best possible way. Jillian MacKenzie is the founder of Purposefully Align. She works with leaders who are ready to stop performing growth and actually live it. She's built her work around helping people uncover the patterns, beliefs, and inner critics that quietly run the show. And once you see them, you can't unsee them. She's also the voice behind her own podcast on YouTube, where she continues these deeper conversations around awareness, alignment, and what it really means to wake up to who you are. What I love about Jillian is she brings this grounded, compassionate presence, but she's not afraid to challenge you either. There's a boldness to her work that cuts through the noise fast. And if you're ready to go deeper than surface level self-development, this conversation is going to wake up something in you. Let's get to it. Hi, Jillian. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Andy. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. So I'm just going to dive right in. My question for you is, what's the difference between calling someone out and bringing to their awareness something that they should change? And how do you navigate the fine line? Because when I think calling someone out, I think it kind of has a negative context to it, right?
Yeah, that's fair. And I would agree. And I think sometimes the negative context that comes with it is the part that shakes people up, because we're not all living in alignment, myself included, probably you included, with the maybe best, highest, most expansive version of ourselves that we have constructed in our own psyches. And sometimes it takes a little bit of a moment, let's just call it a moment, to be vulnerable and honest about that. So is it always negative? No. So what's the difference between calling out and bringing to awareness? I wouldn't say that there is a difference. It's probably just in the delivery, because the result is going to be the same. The work that I do with people, it includes a lot of shadow work as well. But what I like to combine it with is the layers of the kosha, which is something that you would learn in yoga if you ever studied yoga or yoga philosophy. And so it really takes that shadow work in every single layer of our being. And so there's multiple different avenues to draw out insights, potentially on the same even inner critic that we're working with, but on the multiple layers. So sometimes it takes a little bit more of a call-y outy vibe if someone just is not picking up on their tendencies, their patterns, or is not even willing to admit that it is a pattern of theirs.
Mhm. Absolutely. And I think there is a definite need for someone to be able to step into that role to not hurt feelings on purpose, but get into those difficult conversations, because that is how you unearth some of those negative self-beliefs or beliefs that you've had since you were a child. And so it does require that bit of a shakeup. I tend to err on the being a little bit softer, because I don't like my feelings hurt, so I don't want I don't want to hurt anybody else's feelings.
Yeah.
So I definitely reflect that in my own coaching, but it sounds like you take that and bring it to several different layers within the person that you're working with. Would that be accurate?
Absolutely. And also, I'm not the one that's doing the hurting. The
Yeah.
client is usually the one that's hurting themselves. And so I am the person that calls them out on that behavior as well. If I start to hear like a similar kind of excuse or an old paradigm at play or old patterns or just messaging that they continue to say to themselves, like, I'll never be able to figure this out. I'm too old for this. I'm not smart enough for this. Whatever it is, like a lot of times those are the things that I call out on people, and it ends up being more of a positive. It like starts negative, but it leans into the positive, because I'll be like, no, no, we're not speaking like that anymore. Like, tell me what's really true about this. And if they can't tell me what's really true about this, then that's when we go a little bit deeper into a deeper dive to understand, well, where did you learn? Where did you learn that this limiting belief is so true in your world that you can't fathom something outside of this concept?
I love the reframe right there, that it's not the call out that's the hurt, it's the hurt that's underneath.
Yeah.
And that's really why people go to coaches, therapists, mentors, that there's a piece of them that is calling out to be called out. Like, hey,
Right.
bring this part out of me because it's slowly destroying my dreams. And
Mm.
being able to step into that role, how have you found that people, when they come to you, um, don't necessarily see what you're doing as shadow work, but like, how do you get them to a place where they're willing to go into that deep, recesses? Is it a process? Is it like, let's just dive right in? Or obviously, in my opinion, it would be, dependent on the person, but
Yeah, of
like, how
course.
do you feel that out?
I mean, I've been working with people for a long time. I definitely am one of those hyper vigilant people as well that can read a room pretty well. I clearly come with my own shadows and I've done a lot of my own shadow work. And you're right, I don't generally use those terms a lot when I am coaching because it just is something that happens naturally. But it always starts with communication and building rapport and trust and finding a commonality and a common ground. People are choosing me for a reason. So I'm assuming that if you've hired me as a coach that you already trust me. So I'm going all in. I don't like to beat around the bush. I also don't like to waste time. Time is so precious, and we don't have all of the hours in a day, I think, are being utilized to our greatest potential because of things like our day jobs, our families, the other responsibilities. Like, while all of those things are very beautiful, there's still such a need, I think, for our own self-care, our own creativity, and just really owning who we are. And not a lot of people will prioritize themselves first when we have other responsibilities in our lives. So I like to cut to the chase. My coaching packages are 6 sessions. To me, it's like if we haven't done our job together, if you haven't done your job, I haven't done my job in 6 sessions, then you're either not engaged and committed to the change, or I'm not the coach for you. To me, it's not a longevity thing, and it sounds kind of silly because why would you work yourself out of a job? But that's genuinely my goal. I want to teach the clients that I have and the people that I work with how to really coach themselves in some aspects. And so we can have touch points afterwards and check-ins and things like that. But my goal is to work myself out of a job.
So, would you say that there's like a process to it, or like a pattern, or something that you see that can like really be contained within 6 sessions? Because I find it fascinating in the way that different coaches structure the way that their business is. It's like, this is what we're doing. It's like this laser focus. This is a problem, or the general life. Like, so how is it contained in those sessions?
Yeah, yeah. So again, like, this is going to be obviously client dependent, as you know, that's going to be the answer for so many of these questions because it definitely does depend. But I look at everything once again through the lens of the koshas. And so between these 5 layers, so we've got our physical layer, like our physical body, we have our mental layer, we have our energetic layer, we have our intuitive layer, and our bliss layer. So within these five, they're all interconnected and they all work in tandem with one another. So I can generally know where somebody is off and in which layer, so I can focus a little bit more depending on the challenge or the goal or the problem that the person is bringing, of course. But I always look at it through those lenses because, to me, if we're not taking a holistic approach, then we're not making actual transformative change in the coaching sessions and in the work we're doing together. It's more of like a band-aid. I'm not interested in band-aids. Like, again, I want to go deep. I want to get to the point where, and a lot of times it often falls back onto that shadow work because it's the limiting beliefs, it's the inner critics, it's the stories that we tell ourselves about ourselves that we've been maybe trained to think or conditioned to think that aren't true, that run in the subconscious, right? So you brought this up earlier. It's like not everybody can even call themselves out because they don't see the patterns and the habits that are running in the background. And those are what's feeding our consciousness. So until we bring that out to light, then there's nothing we can actually do about it. So to me, that's always the first thing. Like, let's get underneath what's actually driving this, because then when we can change that, everything changes. And once you change that, once you've seen it, like you said, you can't unsee it. So that becomes the driving force and the driving factor behind everything after that. And so it really gives, the client, the person, a very tangible tool to go, okay, I'm feeling stuck. What would you ask me right now? Like I don't even need to be there. In many cases, my clients will email me like months later and be like, your voice is just in my head. Because they go, what would you ask me right now? It's like, okay, well, what's underneath this? Is this thing true? What stories do you have that prove that this is true? And who told you those stories? And is it true today? And like just getting to the deeper levels of all of that. Once you have that skill, you can apply it anywhere,
Yeah.
anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because it is like you say that those stories, those programs, the things that we've told ourselves, the beliefs that have been ingrained in us and beaten into us, sometimes physically, emotionally, spiritually, all those ways that they manifest in all areas of our life. And it's
Mm-hmm.
not just like an isolated, well, only in this part of my life do we see this one thing happening by itself, like just floating over here. No, you find that it happens in your health, it happens in your money, it happens in your career. And so digging down all the way to the core of it, I find that it exposes so much to people that oftentimes they're in disbelief that, wow, like how is it that this has been happening this entire time and I haven't even been aware of it?
Right, exactly. And when you start to notice how often those old patterns and old thoughts actually feed your conscious life, it
Mm-hmm.
kind of, I mean, for me, I like to make everything a joke and everything funny. It kind of feels a little bit embarrassing. It's like, oh my God, really? I've been letting this pattern play out for this long and for these reasons. Like, that's ridiculous. It almost becomes a bit of a jest if you allow yourself to look at it that way. Because what else is there? You know?
You gotta laugh to keep from crying.
Right. And then also cry because that's important. And there's no
Yeah.
right or wrong in it either.
Yeah.
It's just about being really truly honest with who you are and the experiences that you've been through without taking into consideration any other outside perspective or judgment about it, because that's what feeds the pattern, probably in a negative way. Because here's the other question that I ask a lot of my clients: whose voice is that? Because if they
Oh,
have something running in the background that's consistently saying, don't do this, don't do that, stop this, you look silly, you're a dummy, whatever it is, well, whose voice is that? Is that your voice, or is it somebody else's in your life or in your past? Because if you can really nail down where these messages are actually coming from, then that opens up a whole another basement door, to go and adventure into.
yeah. I've done a lot of work that is with my subconscious. And what I found is that I think it is the 14-year-old version of me saying these things. But then I ask that part of me who's saying that. And then it's, generally somebody else who said it to me that I adopted it and now still like playing it out to this day.
Right.
So you talk about how you start internal or processing this yourself. What was your major call out? Well, when was it that somebody called you out and set you off on this journey?
Ooh, that's such a great question. I'm a reflector in human design. So I feel like my environment is just calling outy a lot, and I become aware of it because I call myself out. I don't really know where that shift happened. Let me think about this for a second. I had I had a bit of an aha moment when I was doing my first yoga teacher training 15
Mm.
years ago. And it was about looking at things from a different perspective. So I would consider myself as a teen, like I was pretty rebellious. I didn't want to follow rules. I made really poor decisions. There was a lot of really interesting things that happened in my life, including like a near death experience, including awakening moments, but then not really applying them to anything tangible or usable. Anyhow, so I had this perspective shift, and it's so simple. It's embarrassingly simple. But the instructor at the time showed us a picture of like jewelry. And she was like, "What is this?" And so people would be like, "Oh, it's a crown, it's rings, it's this, it's that." And no one actually just said gold. And no one actually just said it's a material. And so when she started offering these other perspectives, and then we all got really creative and we were like, oh, well, it's somebody's treasure, well, it's somebody's trash. Like there's just so many different perspectives to looking at one particular thing that it just kind of like opened my mind to looking at multiple different perspectives. And so then I, after that, consistently started asking myself, what's a different perspective on this? And that is what really led me down so many different avenues, because I would have a certain idea about the way somebody treated me, let's just say in a relationship, and be like, oh, well, come up with some excuse that why this is okay or why that isn't okay. And again, like based on my past being the eldest, the firstborn daughter, a middle child, I have an older brother, uh, being somebody who is in this work already, like there's so many different potential ways to unpack all this information. And I just started asking myself, what if that, what if that? I come from obviously a family background with challenges that it required me to be hyper vigilant. And so I had a very kind of stern view on certain topics. And so I backed up, I zoomed out, I became the witness, like more of the witness self, to open up perspectives. And that's where it started. And then I just went all in on everything that came, every challenge that came my way. Where's this from? Where did it start? Who told me this? And on I went. And I just want to point out too that it wasn't in an effort to heal or to change, because the past is unchangeable. How we show up to our circumstances in the present moment is all we actually have. And so that is the thing that would be changeable. But when I do this work with people, I often will remind them that this has nothing to do with either shaming, condemning, being angry at, or blaming people in our past, especially our family or our parents, circumstances that we're born into. It has nothing to do with that, because that's unchangeable. But what it does have to do with is shedding a light on those things so we can look at them for what they actually are, period. If we can understand it better and understand why we show up the way we do, often that's enough. It doesn't have to be healed or fixed in order to move forward.
Well, I mean, there's never really anything to fix because we're not broken, right? And so thank you for sharing that. And I find it interesting how you kind of intuitively knew that I'm not here to change this or to correct it or to make it better, but examining it and looking at it through multiple lenses, because oftentimes you can remove the charge from a particular thought once you get to its origin. I always think of, I don't know if you must know Regan Hillier, but she always talks about, cutting the first pearl of a string of pearls and how just everything kind of falls from there, and having that initial thought kind of dematerialize, and then everything subsequent to that, it's like, oh, okay, I forgive everything now. Like this complete massive healing, rather than trying to work your way back to every instance where it popped up, just going to the core root of it and starting from there, and how you intuitively knew that I'm here to be the witness. I'm here to look at it.
Yeah. Well, and it's also scary. Like if you have a string of pearls and you cut off one pearl and the rest fall to the ground, you've created a mess. You have to clean that mess up now. A lot of people don't want to do that or think that it's too challenging. But the fact of the matter is that it's not as messy as we would maybe expect it to be. We create this fear around it, and we create this monster that doesn't actually exist. And the brain likes to do that because it likes to keep us safe. But the way it keeps us safe is that it keeps us familiar.
Yeah.
So safe and familiar are not equal things. We can be living in absolute chaos, and that might feel safe to us because it's familiar. Right. So it's also about rewiring and just re-experiencing what it means to be safe, and reminding ourselves as we do this work that we are physically safe, first and foremost. And working with somebody obviously can help really produce that kind of environment.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's this wonderful quote that I'm probably going to butcher, where it talks about, where people think the cost is too high to change, but what's the cost of staying where you are? Right. The pain that you're in, just because you've become accustomed to it, doesn't mean that like the pain isn't there, that the pain isn't like slowly again diminishing your light, where yeah, it's going to be challenging to work through these and process these things and, do the work. But, for me and my experience with myself doing the work and with clients, it's always been like on the other side of that, there is just so much light and beauty to be had that I've never seen it not be worth the work and the effort.
Never, but it's unknown, and the unknown can be scary for people,
Yeah.
But I always,
Yeah.
the other thing I often say too is choose your hard. It's
Yeah.
hard either way. It's hard
Yes.
work to change, and it's also hard work to stay in the same suffering that you're in. So just choose.
Yeah. And the thing is, I know you can't predict the future, but to some degree, you know where your life is headed if you continue down the path that you currently are at, right? You you can kind of see the future if you keep doing the things that you're doing, right? The definition of insanity, trying doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. But you know where that road leads. So you can either go 100% certain to know where that road is going, or you can try something else that's going to be challenging, but who knows where it's going to take you.
Yeah. Yeah. I find this so fascinating, and I'm not going to be able to answer this question. It's more of like an open-ended, and maybe it'd be interesting to see what your listeners have to say. But to me, it's like if you're choosing that known path, like this is just fine the way that it is. I could go do these things, but I won't because it's hard. Don't you feel like that's a little bit self-sabotaging? And then why do we self-sabotage? Like what's underneath that? This is one of the
Yeah.
journeys I'm on right now. I'm trying to crack that nut. It's like, where is the self-sabotage come from? Outside of staying safe, staying in this box that the obvious answers. I'm like, it's not to me that answer is not enough. I need to go deeper. I want to understand what's even underneath that. I'm not there yet.
Yeah. Uh, so it's self-sabotage. It's a world of layers that come to
Mhm.
that. So when a client comes to you and they have an issue, and we'll say, something in the family arena, like just to give you kind of a touch point for that.
Mhm.
How do you begin to work with them? How do you pre-qualify them? Like when they come to you, like, is there a place where you start like, hey, just tell me your story? Like, what's the point of entry for them for your coaching?
Yeah. So a lot of people I work with are via referral. So I kind of have already had a conversation with them, or I'm in conversation with them, and then they become a client because they realize that I have some tools that they could potentially grow from. So it starts with a conversation, and I am just one of those people that will ask a million questions upon meeting you. I'm a double Gemini too. I've got my sun and moon and
Oh, wow.
five other planets in Gemini. So I'm just like, give me all of the information all the time. So I'm by default a very curious person. And so when I meet somebody, I meet them. I meet them wholly, I meet them deeply, and I lead with good questions. That's it. And they feel open and safe to communicate with me, or they don't, and the conversation ends. More often than not, it's the open, and I just offer. I coach
Yeah.
always. I
Yeah.
lead with high value, and whether you're going to be a client or not, like my goal is for you to leave a conversation with me with something that can potentially change your life. Always. And
That's
so that's kind of how it starts. So when we do start the container, I already have an idea of what they're struggling with, where they want to go, especially because the point is, okay, you're struggling with this, but what's the end goal? What are you hoping for? And so then we actually have a target. And a lot of times I work with entrepreneurs that are building businesses. And so we get into the inner critics and the challenges and the shadow work kind of stuff because it's blocking them from moving forward in their business as well.
So you work with a lot of successful, like high success, high responsibility people. Do you find that there is a special kind of, oh, like I know the word, but I'm trying to think of a better one. A special kind of block that they might be working with?
Self-worth shows up time and time and time again. Yeah. And especially with high achievers, visionaries, successful on paper people, it's that kind of underlying self-worth, imposter syndrome, people pleasing. They're all tied together, obviously, self-worth being kind of at the core of all of those things. But yeah, it shows up. I mean, who doesn't? Who doesn't on some level struggle a little bit with self-worth? We've all learned shame in our lives. In
Yeah.
fact, I think shame is a powerful tool. And I have
Mhm.
two young children, and my goal is for them to not never feel shame. I think shame is important. Shame is information, it's feedback. It tells you when you're off course. It's
Mhm.
how to manage and how to transmute the shame if it's present and when it's appropriate and not. And I think
Yeah.
what's happened is that shame has been packed away so tightly in all of us that because it's in the shadow, it again is one of those filters that everything goes through. And then we feel this lack of confidence, this lack of decisiveness, a just general feeling of I'm never going to be good enough
Mm.
that like we carry around like a pack of rocks.
Yeah, I've had a client that I worked with before. So she visualized it as this black stain on her life that would never be removed. And I
Mm,
was like, well, let's just cut it out. Like if it's a
yeah.
stain that can't be removed, we'll cut it out. But we'll talk about it because shame, as you mentioned, there is like an indication that something is definitely there.
Yeah.
That part of something that you've done that was done to you or the way that we've processed things that keeps coming up, it's going to continue to play out. So at some point, you still have to address it. You still have to look at it because, like you said, it's an indicator.
Absolutely. And I would disagree with cutting it out. Just
Okay.
words, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I am a stickler for words for this exact reason. Don't cut out a part of you.
Mm.
That's what makes you whole. We befriend it. We befriend our shame. We befriend our anger, our resentment, our embarrassment, the things that we generally want to hide, we become friends with. And the sooner that we can find a way, and that's a lot of the work, right? Is finding a way to befriend these things, to understand them, to have some more clarity around them, then the sooner the grip loosens.
Yeah,
It's tight because we're avoiding it. It's got such a
yeah,
grip on us because we're either forcing ourselves away from it and it's clinging on because it's still part of us, right? Instead of us leaning into what makes us whole, knowing that any of these shitty experiences that we've been through made us who we are today. There's no
yeah.
such thing as failure. There's no such thing as doing anything wrong because of the feedback that we get from it and because of the lessons learned. So when we can integrate it all and bring it in as the whole and befriend it, like paint over it. Okay, you've got a black stain there, pretty it up, put some sparkles on it.
Oh, I
Give it a
love
way,
it.
be like, I don't know, but you find a way to make it part of you. So you
Yeah,
accept it.
no. And thank you for that reframe. Absolutely, because it's not about removing the piece of us. And I think my point was more, it was just like
Totally.
there
And
is,
that's why I said it, because I know
yeah,
you know
right,
that.
right,
Yeah.
right. But you're right. There is ways in which we can work with any part of us that has, the pain, the trauma, the stuff that we grew up with. There are different ways in which we can bring those to light and love them. And to me, that is ultimately the goal, is to love every part of ourselves.
Yeah.
Love each, who said it? Chris Rock, because you got to love the crust on a motherfucker. Like you just have to. And
Yeah.
starts with loving every part of yourself.
Right. And Michael Singer, I'm going to butcher this too, but he puts this in a very eloquent way as well. He talks about if we don't accept these things, then we can't love it. And
Yeah.
if we don't accept it, then we're not present to what is real and true because it exists. We have to
Yeah.
acknowledge that these things exist if we want to give anything to it, positive or negative. There
Yeah.
has to at first be an acknowledgement that it exists. And I think for the shadow in particular, or things that challenge us or we'd rather not face, it's very easy for us to pack them away, not even think about it, black hole them, right?
Mhm.
So that's to me the secret that unlocks everything is in a balance. We can only
Yeah.
love as deep as we've felt grief, right?
Yeah.
Everything is on a spectrum. It's the same vibration, different level.
Yeah.
So to me, it's like the deeper we go into the shadow, the higher we can move toward the light.
Oh, I love that. I absolutely love that. Um, I think that what what's present for me right now is the compassion that you're showing for that part of us that we can't often bring to light. You know, you and I don't know if you've had this experience, but people will come and say, I have this problem. This is what I want to fix. This is what I want to work on. And then when you start doing the work, it's really like 5 layers deeper than that, or whatever kosher layer it is that you're working with. And moving beyond just that physical manifestation of what the problem is into those other layers, and how you bring this presence of deep compassion and creating the container for somebody to be able to start to look at it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love doing that kind of work. And also when people will bring some maybe problems or challenges that are unique to them, depending again on the situation, sometimes I just go, so what?
Yeah.
So what?
Yeah.
Again, to bring in that kind of level of, tell me why this is actually that important.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times we've also been taught that certain things that, let's say, happen to us, right? And I'm putting this in quotations because we all know that everything happens for us.
Yeah.
But let's say something has happened to you and you're just having a really hard time letting it be. It's another thing I try to avoid is letting things go. Because once again, we're not removing anything. We're letting it be. We're letting it be present to our experience, and we're befriending and becoming whole with all parts of us. But so what? So what that thing happened to you? So
Yeah.
what? You get to choose the impact that circumstances play out in your life. That's a choice that you get to make when you do this work, on a deep level.
Yeah.
It
Oh.
sounds simple. You just choose, just choose. It sounds simple. It's not, obviously. And when you do the work and you really get to know yourself, it can be that simple.
Wow. Yes, it can. And it can be so powerful and so freeing. So
Mm-hmm.
thank you so much, Jill. Like this conversation, I just want to keep having it over and over again with everybody that I meet, because I think that this is really what it is. This is where the work is, and helping people to really overcome those things and be the best version of themselves, their highest and best self, with every single step of that they take in life. And having somebody like you on this path, just so grateful for you. So let's share with the audience, what are you working on? Like, how can people find you, projects? Like, what do you got going on in
Yeah.
Coach Jill's world?
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, I have a podcast with a colleague of mine, Mari. It's called Interested in Chaos. So we're on YouTube and Spotify, which we talk about this kind of stuff a lot. We laugh a lot. We like to push the edges a little bit. So it's fun and it's engaging. And we also have a program for women who are done with all of the, how do I put, procrastinating, the people pleasing, the I'll get to this later. I've got all of these things that I'm working on. This will be a tomorrow project. Like, the one. So instead of creating another coaching program, because I know there's so many coaching programs out there, we have started a container called the Accountability Club. And that was not a mispronunciation. We are reclaiming the power that women have in a space. And it's really just a co-working space where everybody gets together. There's coaching if it's necessary, but for the most part, it's a group of women that hold each other accountable to the tasks that they're bringing to the 90 minutes that day. It's on Tuesdays, obviously. See you next Tuesday. And it's just been so powerful having a, I saw
Just
the
had
light
a,
go off there.
yep.
It's been really powerful having a space of like-minded individuals to come together to get shit done, period.
Yeah.
We all have so much going on in our lives that it is a protected space to come and get things done with women that are supportive, intelligent, full of wisdom, ready to help, ready to provide feedback. So it's this really fun, dynamic space that we've created. So it's no modules, no training, nothing like that. Just a space to come together and get shit done, period.
Oh,
So
I love it. I love it. Sounds like a mastermind.
yes, like sort of, but different because I've hosted masterminds before as well, like multiple of them. And again, it's a lot of talking. It's a lot of shooting ideas and shooting the shit. And while that can be really helpful, then you have to go away and do the work. This club is to do the work, period. So it sounds boring because honestly, a lot of it is shut your screen off and go do the thing. But after the 90 minutes, we come back in and we go, okay, who got what done? And tell us why. And
Mhm.
what did you learn? And what are you doing next week? And what can we plan? And so there's this high level of accountability. So everybody that's coming to this space is getting their, like that task list, just check, 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 check. And it's been just really freeing. Because here's the thing to both of us, and Maria and myself, discipline is freedom.
Yep. Yep. That's the mic drop right there. That
Mhm.
is that's the little clip right there that we're gonna give to everybody.
Discipline is freedom. Yeah. And that's
Yeah.
what I'm here to help you install in your life. It's discipline.
Well, thank you so much, Coach Jill, for sharing your time, space, and energy with me. I know this conversation is going to bring so much light to people who watch this, and they're gonna all look for you because just this powerful group that you host, amazing. And I've caught a few episodes of your podcast, also amazing. So everybody, check her out. Jill, thank you again so much. It was so lovely to have you on the show. And everybody, love you guys.